what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast, Rolling Stone Magazine says, initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of their favorite musicians and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire build using the code CPPOD at darkfusionsystems.com. Links to the podcast below. Let's jump to our feature presentation. We're kind of going all the way over to a beautiful land with this one. We're going over to Ireland with the band Greywind. Yes, the brother-sister combo of Steph and Paul are with us today. And they're going to be releasing or re-releasing their initial album, Afterthought, from 2017 on December 9th. They're currently out with Time Moving Parts and Action Adventure in the United States. And I get the answer to the question, why are they re-releasing an album 7 years after its initial release? Well, it all goes back to their origin story. And their origin story will have you wondering, wait, how did they persevere through this? So the key of this podcast is you'll learn why you should never give up. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. I've said this once before, but with the revival of Warped Tour coming back, especially in the United States in 2025, that like post-hardcore, pop-punk, emo sound is definitely going to be something that's going to be kicking right back in, and you're going to want to check out not only the new bands that are coming out, but some of the bands that have been doing it for quite a while that you really need to check out. We've got one of those for you right here. Bringing their emo sound all the way from Ireland, currently in the United States, touring with Tiny Moving Parts and Action Adventure. They released an EP called Antidote earlier this year, but their banger album from 2017 called Afterthoughts will be re-released on December 9th with 4 unique vinyl variants. So if you're a vinyl guy or a vinyl girl, go and get yourself some because your vinyl player might need to be fed with good vinyl. So be sure to go do that. But please welcome Steph and Paul from the band Greywind to the podcast. So both of you, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being on. How is everything going in your world? As the time of this recording, you are just starting the tour with Tiny Moving Parts, Action Adventure, coming all over the United States. As you're in a hotel room right now doing this, so how is everything going on this like first week of tour since we recording it?
It's been amazing. I think I'm saying it early, but I think it's my favorite tour we've ever done. Everyone is so nice. I've never met nicer people. Action Adventure, Tiny Moving Parts.
And then
it's amazing.
And then the shows, like we are like when we're coming from Ireland, we're going in blind to these places because we've never been there before. So even last night was our first ever show in Sacramento, and having so many people like singing along with us, and it's just like it's been really special. And we're only like 5 days in.
Yeah, walking out and seeing people wearing our t-shirts, that was insane.
Yeah. So yeah, we're never leaving America.
I know, I love it here.
I mean, I would say don't leave, but of course you want to go back home, go and see some friends, family, and of course be a part of that.
Just for a couple hours.
But when it comes to the music side of things and touring, yeah, maybe stay in America for a little bit because the country is so big that there's so many different areas that have different unique music scenes in there. So you're going to be seeing different things, whether you're out in the West Coast, whether you're in like Seattle and Northwest, whether you're in California, go to Texas, go to the Southeast part of the United States with Florida where Atlanta is, go to the East Coast with New York, Philadelphia, Boston, or come by my neck of the woods here in the Midwest with places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Indianapolis, Detroit, Cleveland. There's so many different areas and so many different music scenes where you're going to be getting a different type of show and different type of crowd as you go across the country consistently. So it's going to be a unique experience seeing all of that in the span of 2 months.
Yeah, it was like we were in Salt Lake City the other day, and it was like so beautiful, snowing. Then I closed my eyes, and I'm in California, and there's palm trees. So it's like crazy, like how different the country is, even with a few hours drive. Compared to Ireland, we can drive from the bottom of the country to the top in like 7 hours. So you mean it's crazy.
And it's just raining. That's it.
Yeah. For me, it's like 7 hours. That's me driving to a music festival and back.
Yeah,
it's like I didn't even feel like I drove that far, but it is what it is. I've only ever been over to Ireland once, and it was just up for a layover, trying to fly from Amsterdam back to Chicago. So I was okay. I kind of didn't get I didn't get my time fully in there, so I didn't get to experience the culture. I was like, dang. Next time.
Yeah, you need to come to Killarney.
We're in the south of Ireland. We're like 3.5 hours on a train from Dublin. So like there's no scene where we are. So like we're the only 2 emos in Killarney. So we feel very grateful to be over here.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, what was that like, especially being a huge fan of emo and really creating a lot of the sound from your influences, especially being the only ones in your area of the country or maybe even your corner of the world that really got behind this sound?
It was really like crazy, but like we grew up listening to like Taking Back Sunday and Mineral and MCR and Jimmy. So we were the only two people in town that listened to that type of music. So we could never find a band. We were always waiting to find a drummer or a guitarist. But one day we were like, we can't wait anymore. And like we were like, let's just book ourselves into a studio for the first time in 2 weeks. And it'll make us finish writing our song within that time. So then we went up to a studio, recorded our first song, a demo of a song called Afterthoughts, and we posted it online. And then the next day, Warner Brothers, Sony, and Universal messaged us saying, yeah, who are you signed to? Do you have management? And do you have other songs? That was the first song we ever wrote, never played a show in our lives. Yeah. So it's been like a crazy whirlwind since the day we started this band.
Wait. Okay, I gotta go back a little bit on this. So you released a song.
Crazy origin story.
Yeah, our origin story is a lot.
Yeah, because you're working on stuff together. You're like, we can't wait. We gotta put this out. So you release a song, and then all of a sudden, like immediately, you have 3 major labels reaching out to you, wondering if you have management, where the heck you come from, and trying to get in as early as possible on Greywind before everybody else does. Yeah. Who else can say they have something done like that?
I know,
crazy,
and this is like pre-TikTok, like Instagram viral. This is us posting a song online for nothing but ourselves. So
like we posted it on like SoundCloud, Bandcamp. We didn't put it on, I don't think, Spotify.
Yeah, it's not even on Spotify or Apple Music because it was just us writing our first ever song.
We wanted to kind of feel like we were doing something. Like our album, after like that song Afterthoughts was written after our uncle had committed suicide, and it was like basically that song was us grieving, basically. Yeah. So we're just writing for ourselves, and that's what we always do. So immediately to have like the industry after us, we were like, okay, what the hell's going on? Like, and this is our first band. Like, obviously we're brother and sister. We didn't have any other people like involved. We were like, what the hell's going on? it was a lot. But it's got us here, but obviously there was a bit of trauma after that.
There's so much. We have a crazy story.
It's a very long story. I don't know. Can you condense that?
I can try my best.
I can try my best. Paul. I believe in you.
I believe in you. I got to hear this story then. If you can condense it, you can condense it. If not, just feel free to just go, because I am intrigued as all hell right now.
Yeah, I'll try and do the short version. Okay. So then we were flown over. So we just wrote our first ever song, never played a show in our lives. And then, every major label in the world's after us. So then we're in London. A big UK management company approached us. So now we're managed by one of the people. Will find out who they are. But we now have a big management in London, and we don't really know them. They're straight away negotiating a record deal for us with Universal, Warner, and Sony. And we ended up signing to Universal. And then we got immediately told, write and record your debut album. So we would leave meetings being like, aren't we supposed to do like an EP and tour first? But we're like, this is the biggest label in the world, and this management, they know what they're doing because they manage some of the biggest bands in the scene still. But they were like, so we trusted them. So we wrote and recorded our debut album Afterthoughts in El Paso, Texas, before we ever played a live show. So our album Afterthoughts was recorded before we'd ever played a live show. So we were like, we're so proud of that album. When you listen to that album, you can't tell that. So then when we finished recording it, while it's getting mixed, our management called us and tell us, hey guys, Universal are dropping you and 7 acts that made them no money this year. And we were like, we haven't released our music yet. So at the time, and then our management at the time said, oh, it's all good. We have a label through Universal ourselves. So we'll be the label now, our management said. So we're like, okay. But we could tell that our management didn't really care about us anymore the moment we got dropped. But luckily our music was like reaching fans online, and we supported Thrice as one of our first ever shows in London. And we played Reading and Leeds and Download. So we're very grateful for getting fans, and all we wanted to do was play shows. But then we announced our debut album. It came out on the day of our 17th show. We played a church in London, and it sold out. We played and we had fans like traveling from all different countries, and the album charted in the official UK rock chart. But then we could still see our management didn't care about us, and they rang us up 6 months later. We didn't play a show for 6 months after that, and said, hey, you're being dropped, basically. And then I checked my email, and our agent has dropped us as well. So now it's just me. Now it's just me and Steph again. But we're gaining so many fans, and we believe in ourselves so much, and that's why I want our story to be is like, if you're in a band listening to this, like never give up, because you're going to be surrounded by snakes and you can just make them look like a joke like we have. So
and it wasn't like all like, oh, we got dropped and everything's great. Like it was very horrific.
Oh, it's traumatic.
It was very bad. Like I took it very badly. It put me into a very deep depression, and it was But then we wrote new songs.
Yeah, so I'm a very the difference between me and Steph, she's like, I'm very positive. So I'm very
negative.
Steph's very so us combining. So Steph is going through a traumatic thing, and I'm very kind of like, I want to prove everyone wrong. So anyway, the plot twist to the story is, you know, when some bands tell this story, sometimes they sound bitter, as if, why didn't they didn't care about us? And we have proof, because when we got dropped from the label and our management said they were going to release it through their side of the label, they forgot to put a record deal in front of us. So when they dropped us, I got in contact through my lawyer and tell them, hey, you forgot to make us sign a record deal. You don't own Afterthoughts. Take down our discography from Spotify. But they got back saying, no, we signed a record deal in New York. Me and Steph haven't been to New York ever. We're going for the first time next month. So we were like the snakes of the industry. Like, we don't trust them. We need to play dead, because we believe in our songs. And if we start promoting them and these songs reach millions of people, they're never going to give us the rights to our debut album back. So we played dead for 4 years and didn't release any music. And then a year ago, they finally got back to our lawyer saying, actually, yeah, we forgot to put a record deal in front of Greywind. And they took it down, and we re-uploaded it ourselves. And then we went on TikTok and went from 2,000 followers to 140,000 followers in a couple of days. And then on Instagram, the same thing happened. We posted the songs that got us dropped, like In Autumn and Afterthoughts and Car Spin. All these songs we believed in, but the music industry didn't believe in. So that's what we're always like, when we meet so many people, it's like, we're from a small town in Ireland with connections to absolutely no one. We work with some big major labels and biggest management companies, and they've done nothing for us. So when it's back to me and Steph, when we just believed in ourselves, we've been able to like achieve so many of our dreams, just the two of us. And now luckily we're on our second US tour this year. So and we were told a year ago that we'd never tour America. So
there was more trauma.
There's more trauma. But our story is literally, you can achieve anything, and just don't listen to anyone. If you believe it, you can literally do anything.
I remember back in a couple of years ago when Dos Equis always had the most interesting man in the world on their advertisements. This is like the most interesting band story in the world I've ever heard.
And that was a very short, less traumatic version.
There's a 4-hour version of that.
There's a lot more pain in there.
So our story now is like, in the last year has been so crazy. We're now managed by Casey from the Wonder Years, and
he's the best.
And he's the best manager in the world. We just love him to bits, and we feel so grateful for everything.
And I think because he's in a band himself that is just so loved by the scene and everyone, and they're just the Wonder Years are just an incredible band. So for him, he's lived obviously being in a band, so he knows what it's like for us and everything. So I think that's why it works so well. Yeah,
and like we're just building like such a beautiful like team now, because like we're surrounded by so many toxic people, and that's one of the stories we like to tell as well, because you can, whether you're in a band or just in life, the people you surround yourself with is the most important thing in the world. And we were surrounded by so many toxic people for so long. So now,
even up until a year ago,
even when we thought things were going great. So we feel like so grateful right now that we're building such a special team, and the music we're writing now, we're so excited about. And we're so like excited for the re-release of Afterthoughts, because it never got its chance back then. And it feels like it's only been released in the last year, really, with people discovering it on TikTok and Instagram. So, and the amount of messages we get about when's the vinyl coming. So, so it's finally coming like in December.
So now the whole point of re-releasing the album makes so much more sense to me, because I was wondering, why is a re-release happening like 7 years after the initial album dropped?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it makes so much sense, and I love the story for a number of reasons. One, I do want to speak on the fact that you're being managed by Casey of the Wonder Years. I had him on the podcast almost 2 years ago, and his heavy focus and his like drive not only to do great things with the Wonder Years, of course, but the focus was on younger bands trying to build up in music, trying to get better online and get more response and get more fans. I'm seeing that play out so effectively with you now, where it's like, okay, whatever Casey was talking about, obviously he was right. And obviously it is being shown with the two of you and with Greywind as well. beyond that, though, the story of perseverance and just continuing on, even when no one believes in you, and the thought of it's best to surround, the most important thing is to surround your people that are actually good for you and not a negative influence, because you can be connected to some of the biggest people in the world, some of the biggest companies in the world, some of the biggest management companies, labels, whatever it is. But if they're just there to have that connection with you and not to foster it, it's not going to go anywhere. And that's going to potentially cause a lot of those traumatic experiences where you're going to have to lay dormant for 4 years just so you can actually get the rights to your music back, which is absolutely insane. I'm not surprised it happened because of the way the music industry works, but it's still absolutely insane that they're not even going to think about it, but you're still here because the music you put out not only connects with fans, but you as people connect with fans as well. I mean, how else are you going to be able to continue on with the labels not believing you to go and play shows all across Europe, go and play Leeds, Reading, Download, come over to America when they say, oh, you're never going to come over to America. And literally months later, it's like, yeah, we're touring over here. What of it? It's the perseverance that happens. And that's a huge story that so many bands and so many artists or so many creatives, anybody that's trying to start something of their own needs to hear, because you're always going to have those roadblocks in the way. And it's how you get through them as the important thing.
100%, like literally never, ever give up. And even that's one of the things when we told this story to Casey, it was a 4-hour version of this. He got the 4-hour version and he was like, oh my God, I just love the drive and ambition. And like, you've been stabbed multiple times and you're refusing to die. So, but yeah, this is all we've ever wanted to do. And like I said, like bands watching this or people wanting to start bands, like literally as long as you want, how badly do you want it? Because I think
we were told to quit. We were told we were damaged goods.
Yeah.
We were told, oh, we don't deserve anything we've ever.
We have lots of little.
It was a lot of horrible things, and those people are still working in the industry, and then they'll come up to your face and be, "Oh, you're great."
And also to be honest, like even like you not knowing the stories, like me and Steph, we didn't say a word online. We just played dead, and now that everything is in place, now we can tell our story and show people like literally never give up, and it's kind of like. Yeah, I
feel like it's an important message to spread out to people, like you said, not even in bands, just in life, about who you surround yourself with, even if it's friends, relationships, anything, because it does affect you. Yeah. Like even like I said, up until last year, we were still unknowingly surrounded by toxicness. Yeah. And we thought, oh, this is great. And then you realize, oh wait, no, this is very, very toxic.
Yeah, like we have loads of stories. Like we have I won't say the name, but one of the biggest labels in the scene tricked us into a meeting when we got dropped the first time and said, you're damaged goods. Like you're female in a lead singer of a band. You don't hold a guitar like the other bands we've signed. What's the point of you? Yeah. So literally we have so many stories of like how toxic this industry can be. So our story is like literally just believe in yourself and you can do anything.
Because I feel like I think they try to break you.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky I'm in a band with my brother, because I feel like if I would, like Paul earlier saying how he's so positive, if I was alone in that situation, I don't know what would have happened, because it was absolutely like horrific, the stuff that's been said to us and how we've been treated. But then it's like, whatever, get the violins out.
Get the violins out for all those companies that said you were damaged goods and be like, oh, look at us now. But that's something I've kind of noticed when it comes to especially the music industry or business in general, especially from the larger entities, where I'm connected with a lot of smaller labels, maybe some mid-sized labels as well, and seeing the things they do for their artists. They're actually trying to be on the forefront. They're not trying to just follow trends. But you're talking about maybe one of the biggest labels in the music industry saying, oh, you're damaged goods because you're standing up there and Steph doesn't have a guitar in her hand when all these other female singers have a guitar in their hand. Yeah, because that's all you're signing, and that's going to be oversaturated. It's going to be the same. It's the same thing when something gets popular and now all these record labels are trying to jump on top of it, especially the big ones, and just capitalize on that moment because it's what's popular. But if you're always following those trends, you're always going to be behind. And it's the smaller guys that are going to be on front of it that are going to be able to start to gain a lot more perspective, gain a lot more notoriety, and grow overall because they're on the precipice of it, on the forefront of it. I think about it with hardcore as well, where that scene is really starting to grow right now because you're seeing a band like Knocked Loose go absolutely gangbusters. Kublai Khan, you have Alpha Wolf in there that are really coming up too. But it's like beforehand, can you imagine how many people told Knock Loose that they weren't worth it just because of the way their singer sounded? Because Brian doesn't sound like anybody else. It's like, oh, people aren't going to get behind it. Well, I just saw him sell out like a 4,000 cap venue a week and a half ago. Yeah. Come on, just give it a chance.
It's like for us, it's like when we write and stuff, we never look at other bands. I don't care what other people do. I literally don't care what other people are doing. Like we're just in our own Greywind world, and we're just like we said earlier, we're inspired by like Mineral, Take Back Sunday, My Chem, but I don't think we sound like any of those. We're creating our own thing, and we're not like, oh, emo's in, like on TikTok, everyone now is like emo. And it's like we were like they're using it as a buzzword.
That's the thing. We always laughing on my FYP on TikTok. I was like, weren't you like an indie band like last week, and now it's emo? I was like, literally with us, I think that's why our music has like exploded on these platforms, is because people can tell how authentic or like I said, like this album, these songs from 2017 going viral on our first songs we ever wrote, and those songs were 10 songs of us grieving our uncle after he committed suicide. So I think people could tell how real it was. And then this year when we released our Antidote EP, more songs like Antidote and Here's Your Death Wish going viral and stuff. It's like people can tell that we've lived this, and this genre is so special for us and saved us in our darkest times. So yeah, that's what our favorite thing is, how with like, I know some people talk shit about TikTok and Instagram and stuff. It was like, literally, those people are looking at it the wrong way. For example, we're not going online and, we need to do a pop cover to get noticed. Like, we're literally just posting, here's a clip of our song.
We're just being ourselves.
This is what an Irish Emo rock band sounds like. If you like it, great. If you don't, I don't care. And luckily, a lot of people have discovered our music and love it. So we feel very grateful.
Oh, talking about that TikTok, Instagram thing when it's, people just trying to capitalize on trends. That's where the negative part of it comes in, or just the perception, the trying to create a front and just think about like what's going to go viral. Exactly. But I've had this conversation with Laura Babick from Red Handed Denial, where she's like, I can't stand doing that stuff, but it feels like I have to be on the platform. And the bands that we see, or the artists that we see really grow on those platforms and continue to do well, are the ones that are doing things that are working with people, but it's not following a trend. It's doing something for themselves and continuing to build up on that. So when you're releasing your music from 2017 on the platform, people are getting into it. They can feel the authenticity behind it, but then it's like, you can tell that this band Greywind is not trying to capitalize on a trend, because these songs originally came out in 2017. Where the heck is this coming from? And then you go into the Antidote EP with 2024, and I think one of the biggest things that really, especially when I was listening through the EP, was, I'm going to go specifically to Steph on this one. It was the way your vocals worked. There was this slight snarkiness in there throughout the whole entire thing, but that really plays into a little bit more of the angst that comes in with some of these topics that people are feeling, or some of the emotions that people are feeling, but it also gives a little bit of like a tongue-in-cheek feel, so it's a lot more relatable. And it's also something where if you don't want to dive deep into it, it's very easy to just enjoy on a surface level, but there's so much more below the surface that you can dive into with these songs. So it's like you can like them on top just as the surface level, or you can go deep and like them even more. But either which way you go, you're going to enjoy Greywind one way or the other.
I love that. Yeah, like our song You're My Medicine is literally a love letter to our fans for helping us through all of that stuff that they didn't even know we were going through. Because we're not going to go online and say, yes, people are being mean to us. We're not going to do that. And yeah, like Antidote, that song is basically a middle finger to the people who hurt us and who were horrible to us. And it's one of my favorite parts of our set as well, because I put my little nurse hat on and I just basically take the piss out of everyone, and it's so fun.
So yeah, if you're listening to this, you need to come to a Greywind show, because like, I think our live show is so fucking good and it's so fun. So yeah, it's like, we just like, this is all we've ever wanted to do, and like we feel like so grateful to be like touring America right now. But yeah, even like you're saying about Steph's voice, if like our debut album Afterthoughts, that was literally us grieving our uncle for 10 songs. So then we've been through so much, and we've like grown as people. So the Antidote EP is just us having so much fun and just getting revenge on these people.
And even Afterthoughts recording that, I had major imposter syndrome during that, because like we said, that was our first, we hadn't played a show at that point. But I feel like I was just so sad. I was crying every day because I was just I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And oh my God, these songs are so personal. And oh my God, people are going to hear this. It's so vulnerable. What do I do? And yeah, so, and then Antidote is me being, after playing shows and being probably more confident and more, I was more like risking stuff with my voice that I've never done before. And Sam, our producer Sam, really pushed me and helped me even grow better as a vocalist, which I appreciate so much.
Yeah, it's kind of like an amalgamation of all the positivity that you got from playing live, from the people that you eventually connected yourself with, overtaking the toxicity and just the poisonous nature of everybody that came beforehand that said you were damaged goods, that said you weren't worth it, that said, oh, you didn't make us any money this year, so we're going to drop you. Well, we haven't even been signed you for a full year, and you're supposed to work on our brand new album, and that's what we've been doing. Like, what do you expect at this point?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I know. It's so dumb.
Yeah. So being on stage with a nurse's hat for a song called Antidote, giving the middle finger to so many things, is something that not only visually is striking, but it's relatable to so many people that might be going through the same thing, whether it's within their job, whether it's in their home life, whether it's just within society in general, whether they're stuck online just constantly comparing themselves to all of the influencers we see out there that are only posting the highlights of their life, and we don't get to actually see the negatives. Like it's kind of like the middle finger to that overall idea, and just, you know what? As long as I surround myself with the right people, that's what's going to matter in life, right?
Exactly.
Be your own antidote. That's the message. That's the message. That's what that song, that's what the whole EP is us kind of believing in ourselves again, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we've lost a lot of confidence for ourselves. Like, I thought for about 6 years I couldn't sing because of what people had said and stuff. And I was believing it. And my brain was like going a million miles an hour and believing that.
Yeah.
And then Paul, like I said, I'm so lucky Paul is my brother.
I'm the opposite.
Paul,
I'm like,
yeah.
Wait, Steph, wait.
I know, and Paul's trying to give me massive speeches to bring me back up, and it's like,
yeah,
and like, believe in yourself. And I feel like even just being on tour in America and meeting our fans are just the loveliest people. We're very lucky. We have such sweet fans, and they're all so kind to us, and I can just see how much they love us, and it makes me kind of love myself more. Yeah. So that's very nice.
And you make the fans love themselves more as well, too. So it's just a full circle thing of us helping each other love our own selves. That's pretty much what it is. And
exactly, that's the message.
Yeah.
And the fact that you both are able to create that with this music and get past, you know, even though you gave me like the 5-6 minute version of the story, I'm not going to lie. I do want to hear the 4-hour full version of it, because I just want
100%.
I'll be sitting here just like listening, just.
We'll do an extended edition of this podcast.
Okay, I'll give you a bonus story in it. A tiny bonus story.
Okay, tiny bonus story.
We were like, when we got dropped by him, we were like, okay, we need an Irish manager now. And we started working with him in, say, November 2019.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, we need an Irish manager for the first time. And then we supported Palais Royale in March 2020, and February 2020. We're like, and it was our best shows we ever played. We're like, life is great now. And then COVID hit a month later. And so he was our manager for 2 normal months and then all of COVID. And then in 3 months before we went viral, he told us we made him no money during COVID. So he dropped us. So yeah, and then we went viral 2 months later, and then he was emailing, begging us to be our manager again. So yeah, so we have little stories like that.
It's great.
Oh, there's probably a million other little stories like that, but my God, it just keep adding like more pieces to it. It's just a big giant jigsaw puzzle. And all we have done right now is the border. That's it. Like, there's so much more to fill in the middle. Well, you gave me a little bit of a corner right there with that little bonus story, but like, I'd love to hear the whole story. As far as I know, we don't have time for that. I know we're running low on time, but I do want to ask you both one more question before we wrap this up. Okay.
All good.
It's something I love to ask every single artist I have in the podcast. It's a way for us to get to know more new music and a way for you to help support the bands and other artists that you absolutely love. So there's 2 of you, but I'm looking for 3 total. So between the 2 of you, can you give me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
Okay,
I know
I'm wearing the hoodie. Good Terms, our boys in Good Terms. We love them so much, and they're just incredible. And their new album's coming out, I think, in December.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're amazing. We toured with them in April and May. It was our first US tour, and we toured with them and Boys of Fall, and we shared the van with Good Terms, and they're just the best people ever, and we love them.
Hell yeah. And I'm going to mention 2 Irish artists as well. This artist called Krim, which is, he's like so sick. So how did I think it was on TikTok? I saw just a 5-second clip, and you know when you hear like this person has so much potential, and he's only a young dude from Ireland. So yeah, Crim, and also a band called Light Grey. See, they have the grey in the name as well. They know
grey in the name, we respect.
So yeah, amazing pop punk band from Galway in Ireland as well. So good terms, Crim and Light Grey.
There's some good picks as well. I really enjoy hearing about those because now I'm going to go and check them out right after this. I'm working on this episode and enjoy it. And Steph, Paul, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast. I'm going to close this thing out with 3 things. First things first, when it comes to Greywind, their initial debut album, Afterthoughts, is being re-released on December 9th. You can get 4 unique vinyl variants. So be sure to go and do that. Be sure to go check them out on their current tour supporting tiny movie parts and action adventure all across the United States. Best way to stay in line with the band and get to know about them and become a fan of the band, description of the podcast below. Say find Greywind online. Link symbols for everything are going to be there. I mean, social media, YouTube, where you can find the album, where you can get the vinyl variants, where you can get tickets for this tour. Everything are going to be down there, so go and check it out. Now it's time for number 2. And this is something I like to make as a promise to every band I bring on the podcast. I enjoy having on because this is a lot of fun and I want to continue to support the band any way possible. So the promise will start with when, because this implies that this is going to happen. We just don't have a day or time set. But when I get to see you perform live for the first time, I will find you. I will come and say hi, but that's not the promise. The real promise is first round's on me.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Hell yeah.
Thank you very much. As an Irish person, I appreciate
that. Oh, you're very welcome. I mean, I'm from, the city where in the United States where probably it's only known for beer at this point. So yeah, it's just what we do. And now it's time for number 3. I cannot end this by saying goodbye because I made you a promise. Plus 30 minutes was not enough with the 2 of you. I want to get more time on the podcast. I'd love to have you back on the podcast again and maybe fill in the whole entire middle of the puzzle with that insane story. So this cannot be goodbye. This is, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, folks, today interview with Paul and Steph from the band Greywind. And now it's time for Kevin's final thought. So my final thought is going to go in this direction. I really wanted to go a lot more time with this band, but of course they're out on the road right now with Tiny Movie Parts Action Adventure. They're doing it from a hotel room on the west coast of the United States in the morning. It was 10 a.m. when we started on my time. That's 8 a.m. their time. So they probably got to get going to the next show, and I didn't want to keep them too much, in waiting because that's not a good thing. But I wanted more time with them because that origin story that they went through, and they gave me the short version of it. I'm even more intrigued. I want to know more about it because to get the short version and figure out everything they had to persevere through is astonishing. Like, I don't know how they were able to do that. I don't know how they pulled that off. It is insane. But beyond that, what really gets to me is the fact that so many people thought that they weren't worth it anymore, yet they released their music and the fans thought they were worth it. And they kept persevering, they kept pushing to the point where every time someone says that they can't do something, they end up doing it and they end up succeeding in it. And that's just perseverance, that's just drive, and it helps so much more when you have the right people behind you and the right people around you to foster that kind of environment. Like, not only do the 2 of them have this brother-sister combo, but as they have with the rest of their team right now. It's an incredible thing, and this episode got me energized for sure. I hope it energized you. So I want to thank Steph and Paul for coming on. When it comes to finding Greywind and finding out where they are, go subscribe to the podcast below. I'll have links for their social media where you can stream all their music, including the Antidote EP and Afterthoughts. Well, once it re-releases again on December 9th, you can listen to it on Spotify right now because they got the rights back and it is up there. Get yourself a vinyl variant. Go see them with Tiny Movie Parts and Action Adventure. And they'll be back in 2025 here in the U.S. and probably touring over in Europe too. So be sure to go and get your tickets. You'll find them and go see them live. Also, be sure to follow along with the Chord Progression Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Links are in the description below. Hit subscribe on the podcast or on YouTube right down here. Hit follow on good old Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Follow the podcast there if that's where you prefer. Hit the like button on these episodes because it helps push us in the algorithm and gets more people to know about these episodes, more people to know about these bands, and more people know about the Chord Progression Podcast. Ooh, yeah. So thank you. And that's going to be it, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin. And you guys know how I end every single one. So it's big, healthy, and hearty. See y'all. Yeah.